I had a couple of lovely Jehovah's Witnesses. Actually, I was able to have 3 chats with them that lasted about 3 hours each. I think they were just maybe trying to get their hours up, and they saw a great opportunity for that. But at the very least, one thing that I found after a sermon that was on 1 Peter was 1 Peter 1:11, where the apostle talks about the Spirit of Christ in the prophets.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, okay, that's. I wonder how the New World Translation would treat that. And of course, they take out of Christ. And then I had a look at the Kingdom Interlinear, and it has, as plain as day, Spirit of Christ in the Kingdom Interlinear. And they had no response to it. If they had never seen it, in fact, they weren't very familiar with the Kingdom Interlinear. I had to show it to them on their app.
Now, that probably freaked them out.
Yeah, I just wonder if you've heard, if you've encountered any defenses to that, if you've actually covered that with any Jehovah's Witnesses, just to see, especially because the point I was trying to make was that their translation or mistranslation, it's horrendously inconsistent. But when it's inconsistent with their own other products, and so demonstrably so.
Well, now, so Alan, you haven't heard the story of the only time I've ever been assaulted in a witnessing situation?
No.
Oh, well, the only time I have actually been physically assaulted in a witnessing situation was with a little old Jehovah's Witness couple. And we were in someone's front room, and I was showing them in John chapter 14, I believe. And where John 14:14, where Jesus said, "If you ask me anything in my name, I will do it." And the Greek of the interlinear specifically says, "If you ask me anything in my name." The New World Translation says, "If you ask anything in my name." They took the word "me" out. And so I'm trying to show this to them. They've got their Kingdom Interlinears, and she just couldn't see it. So I got up and I went across the front room, and I knelt down next to her, and so I could point in her Kingdom Interlinear to where it said "me" in the Greek, and then in the English where the word was missing. And she looks at it, and she stares at it, and she looks at me, and then I never saw it coming, she just backhands me right across the face and sends me sprawling into the middle of the room. And, that's a little on the surprising side. You don't expect that to happen. And so I collected myself and I sat down in my chair, and I've told the story many, many times, but I looked across the room, sort of ended the conversation, by the way, but I looked across the room at her elderly husband, and the look on his face was, "You got no idea, buddy." Here's a guy probably been married to her for 50 years, and I can guarantee you, he just had that hangdog look on his face. It was like, "Yep, I saw that one coming."
Wow, I guess I got to count my blessings at the very least.
So, yes, interestingly enough, I have marked in my old Kingdom Interlinear. Well, it's not that old because it's the blue one. So I've had purple ones, which go way, way back. But ta en autois pneuma Christu, what they actually do is, it says what sort of season the Spirit in them was indicating concerning Christ when it was bearing witness beforehand about the sufferings of Christ. And so they disconnect what's clearly a phrase, pneuma Christu, and put Christu farther down. Especially because you have ta eis Christon, so they just mess around with it. I can't tell you what their defense of that is. If I've ever known, I've forgotten it. So I don't know exactly how they try to defend that, because it's it's like trying to defend their mistranslation of the Granville Sharp construction in 2 Peter 1:1. You can just show so many examples of this phraseology that it's just another one of those places where very obviously the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society is not trying to translate the Greek as it would have been understood by the original audience or the author. They're attempting to make it consistent with their own unbiblical theology. So that is a good text, though, to utilize. Though it does surprise me a little bit for Jehovah's Witnesses not to be familiar with the kingdom in linear. They can't be really good Jehovah's Witnesses if they're not familiar with that, because they
seem to have been for quite some time. But they also said that they, I guess in the 70s or 80s, they moved across from the King James, which I found quite astonishing
70s or
as well.
80s, it was the 50s.
But,
yeah, they're newbies. Either that or they're getting a really twisted history of their own movement, which is possible. I don't know.
Yeah,